I hate to start a 10-hour day talking about numbers because some people go, numbers, but I got to, right? So what we're going to talk about right off the bat, activity tracker, coaching by the numbers. So as this is being viewed right now, this is our October 2021 TFG Fall Fest, and one of the things that I believe has helped me so much is kind of self-diagnosing what's going on with me, or being able to take numbers to a mentor and say, look, what's going on with me based on these numbers. And what I wanted to talk about today is how you can do that, and I'll be quick about it, but then also make it more relevant to where our organization is today with numbers on our Tuesday morning meetings. So starting off, in the Fitz Group, we've developed this activity tracker. I selfishly developed this for myself as I was getting my business up and off the ground. And over time, I realized that other people actually enjoyed using it and gained benefit out of it. I know many of our leaders still use this on a regular basis, and because of that, they know where they stand. But if you're not using this and don't have your hands on it, find out how to get your hands on this activity tracker. It is sort of the essential element in tracking your numbers. So coaching by the numbers. What you're going to hear from today is you're going to learn about gunshot wounds, you're going to learn about what to train, and a little extra credit, some purposeful cash flow. If you didn't write those three down, it's okay. I'm going to go through them one by one. Start off with gunshot wounds. Let's say you're an emergency room doctor and a patient comes in with stage 4 cancer, high cholesterol, diabetes, and gunshot wounds to the abdomen. Which would you treat first? Gunshot wounds. I heard gunshot wounds in the room. Why would you treat gunshot wounds first? Because all of those things are most likely can kill you, right? But the gunshot wounds are probably going to do it first. So we have to address it first. So what are the things that can kill you on the production side? Well, dials required versus the average dials you're making. On your activity tracker, you see down here, it tells you the dials that you're making per week, or that you should be making per week, and this is saying what you're actually averaging. So what do you need to be making per week, and what are you actually averaging? That's a major gunshot wound. Some people just straight up aren't making the dials. Percent of dials that are reached. So of the dials that you're making, how many contacts are you getting in touch with? How many people are you talking to? That number matters. Percent of contacts that book an appointment. So moving through the spreadsheet, the next column is appointments. So of the people you spoke to, how many people are you actually booking an appointment with? And we see two lines here starting to form, current ratio and baseline ratio. Current ratio is what you're experiencing. This is a blank activity tracker, so that number is 0. Baseline ratio is what you should experience, the minimum of what you should experience. So here you should be booking 50% of your conversations into an appointment. How are you doing on that? Another gunshot wound is percent of appointments that actually sit. So of the appointments that you book, how many actually do you sit down with? You cross the threshold into their home, or they answer the phone when you're doing the over-the-phone call, over-the-phone sale. 75% is how much should actually sit down with you. They should show. And then of the sits that you sit down with, how many actually write an application? We expect 100%. That's not to say you close every sale. It's to say you go on this appointment, don't close them. You go to the next appointment and you write husband and wife. That was 2 appointments and 2 applications. It wasn't necessarily an app in every home, but it should average out to be about 100%, which means oftentimes we're writing multiple apps in a house, not just the primary breadwinner, but we're writing the secondary breadwinner and the kids, and grandma and grandpa were over, and we wrote them a policy as well. We came out of that house with 6 applications. Happens all the time. So what are the things that can kill you on the building side? On the building side of the activity tracker, interviews required versus average interviews booked. So looking at the activity tracker, how many interviews do you need every week in order to hit your goal? And how many are you actually averaging? I can tell you right now, my own personal numbers, I need more. Right now, my interviews that I need per week is higher than my average, which means I'm not hitting my recruiting levels that I want to hit. For my own self, I track these numbers. I know right now my average here is below that number, and that's not going to equal success. So I know to fix it. Percent of interviews that sit. So of the interviews that you book, how many did you actually do, right? They answered the phone on the interview time, or maybe you met them at a coffee shop, but the interview actually held. Percent of sits that fast track. So of the people that you sit with, how many did you get their basic background onboarding information? And then percent of fast tracks that actually contract. So of the people we got their onboarding information, how many of them finished contracting with at least one of our carriers? I know it's a lot of information coming at you in a fire hose right now and digesting it, but I promise you it's today, if you're not familiar with this, it's meant to be an introduction to it, and you'll get comfortable with it the more you play with it. And then ultimately, how many contracts you're getting a first app from? Of the people you contracted with at least one of our carriers, how many of them are turning in their first application? So, recently, and I've done this training 1,000 times. That's an exaggeration, maybe a dozen. And a lot of times at this point, I go through our leaders' activity trackers and say, here's what the leaders look like, at least at one time. And some were good, some were bad, and they're still in the PowerPoint. I just hid those slides. I can come back to them another time. But just recently, we were having a conversation, Heather and I were having a conversation about our Tuesday morning sales meeting, TFG sales meeting on Tuesday mornings, 10 to noon, 10 to 11:30 Central Time on Tuesday mornings. And on those Tuesday mornings, the agents that are participating on that call, they report their activity numbers. Now, not everybody reports their activity numbers, but those who do, we compile it into a spreadsheet, and that's ultimately in our sales meeting who we hear from that day as far as the top 5, any brand new producers turning in their first apps. But we just started noticing some trends recently, and Heather said, hey, have you ever taken those Tuesday morning numbers and dumped them into an activity tracker to see what that looks like, to see what the problem is? I said, no. 20 years at this, never occurred to me. So I'd real quickly dump the numbers in there, and this is what it looks like. So this is the production side. We'll see the building side in just a second. So when I'm looking at this, and basically what you're doing to figure out, now the average dials here, because this is an organization we're looking at, this is maybe, on average, we have 40 or 50 people that turn in their activity. So we're looking at the activity compilation of 40 or 50 people. I don't know, the average is not going to matter on the dials. The percentage of contacts, how many dials you make and actually speak to, 15%, it tends to be the number. And you can see this is the last 13 weeks. Now, the next column is appointments. So of the people we're speaking to, how many appointments are we booking? We're booking 48%. So now here's how you know what thing is killing you. Where's your gunshot wound? Treat that like a fraction in school. Anybody got a calculator? Every phone has a calculator these days. What's 48 divided by 50? 96. So if the test was worth 50 points and you got 48 points on it, that's a 96. That is an A, baby. I am proud of my kids. When they come home with that 96, I'm like, good work. You did well, right? So that's an A. The people we're speaking to are booking appointments. That's not our gunshot wound. You don't address the A's. You get the failing grades better, right? So now we look at this next column, the sits. Of the appointments that we're booking, how many are actually showing? 66%. What's 66 divided by 75? 88. That is a solid B plus, man. Ain't nobody upset about an 88 around here. That is, listen, you're getting good grades. You're an AB student, man. All right? Next column. Oh, this math's going to be easy. Of the appointments that we sit on, how many apps are we getting? 61%. That's a 61 out of 100. That's a failing grade. Okay? Oh, yeah. See, I highlighted it. This here is our problem. And that's really what, as far as this being the Fall Fest day, that's really what we said was, this is the word impetus. That's the agenda that we're doing today, is because of this number right here. Because if you can move the needle just a little bit on this number, if instead of 61%, you're at 71%, you know what you are? Or if you're a football player in high school, you get to play on Friday. That's what that means. If you can get that to a 71, you're not on academic probation, right? Right here, you got an F, so you can't play. If you're trying to graduate college, if you get this to a 71, just like that, you get to graduate, as opposed to coming back in the summer and doing that course again. So we've got to address that issue. On the building side, look at this. Here's what we need to train on. We need to train on, we're getting interviews and we're getting people to show up for them, but 35 out of 50 are actually getting the basic background information. That's where we're getting crushed, because the contracts looks all right. 32 out of 33 is good. First app's okay. So that's what we're doing today. We're talking about how to increase our app rate per sit. How can we write more applications per appointment that we're sitting on? Purposeful cash flow. Look, I'm going to highlight this for you. Referrals, 56%. We expect 5 referrals for every application. We're going to talk about referrals today and how to get referrals. So that's a big deal. That you move the needle there, you increase your profitability like crazy. This purposeful cash flow, anytime an agent's coming to me and they're writing good production but they're complaining about their cash flow, 100% of the time, it is because of these categories right here. It's the referral numbers suck and their annuity apps are terrible. Look, we're getting 2%. That's less than 1 annuity for every 10 applications of life insurance that we write. The life insurance companies expect us to get 5 to 6 annuities for every life insurance app we write. We're getting less than 1. I'm hoping if we can just get 1, could you imagine what your cash flow would look like? Look, $690,000 in premium. If you did 10% of that, 679 life apps, if you did 67 annuities in this 13-week period, 67 annuities, that affects everybody on this call. 67 annuities multiplied by the average annuity of $50,000. You're talking $3 million? Is that over $3 million? And if you want to multiply that by 4% commission on that, does that change your life? Yes, it does. And that's just for a quarter. That's just 3 months. Whew. All right. So, same with the building side. Referrals on the building side are terrible. If we can get that number up, life changes. All right, I'm going to land the plane. I'm going to move it on to our next speaker. But I just wanted to start the meeting off today talking about this because this really is being able to diagnose your problem, being able to track your numbers and take it to a mentor and have them help you diagnose. It can drastically change your cash flow and change your lifestyle and change everything for the better. And that's what we're doing here today in the Fall Fest is really trying to address all of these numbers that you're seeing up on the board. So if you need me, my contact information is behind me, and hope to talk to you soon.